Djibouti at containment times. For the international scene, who alarms cries and the UN against the coronavirus. Welcome to our newsroom. This is not the time for recklessness or drama, but for strict compliance with containment and prevention measures. The coronavirus is indeed here in Djibouti, as just confirmed to us by the Ministry of Health, and thanks to our national systems of fight against the COVID-19. The first 2 positive cases to this virus have just been counted or now in our territory. Immediately, the President of the Republic held a meetings with the relevant officials of our country, with whom he held a demanding speech calling on Djiboutians to the watchword to stay at home. In his speech, the President clearly stressed that there are 2 persons of Djiboutian nationality, a man coming from France via Addis Ababa with Ethiopian Airlines flight, and a woman coming from Istanbul via Turkish Airlines flight, both arriving on March 17, 2022. Their clinical condition does not present any concerns for the moment. They are currently in Bufar and their relatives have been contacted. I ask all passengers who have arrived on flights over the last 14 days to come and be tested as soon as possible to the COVID-19 care centers at Bufar Hospital, and above all to minimize contact with the population. We also ask our fellow citizens to restrict their movement to what is strictly necessary and to avoid any gatherings. Have also decreed a week's leave for all non-essential staff of the administration, and of course from the health services, the police and gendarmerie and army. The staff necessary for the proper functioning of essential services such as water, electricity and telecommunication will also have to work to minimize the constraint on the population. Non-essential shops will also have to be closed to the exclusion of supermarket, market and other food distributor, pharmacies and banks and petrol stations. I ask the entire population to respect these measures and to follow the instructions to help us contain COVID-19. So the virus only circulates if we circulated. Stay home in a small group as much as possible so as not to endanger your loved ones and fellow citizens. I would also like to remind you of the essential barrier measures such as hand washing and maintaining social distances. Everything will be done so that in the coming days the teams on the ground can work safely to contain this pandemic. The President of the Republic said, "Together we will get there."
waan ku celinayaa mar labaad guryihiina ku ekaada socodka daaya allahumma inni balaght assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullah.
Concerning the development today, the Minister of Health was to make a statement to this effect. The Minister Muhammad Warsamadiri said that the 2 people confirmed to have the new coronavirus yesterday, March 23, are in the reassuring clinical state. They are currently being treated at Arta Hospital as part of our response plan. In addition, 11 people whose families and relatives of 2 confirmed cases have been tested and found to be negative. The search and screening of people in contact is continued. It is in the light of this latest development that exceptional measures have been announced by the President of the Republic as the head of government. We would like to remind you that in the context of number 1517 was set up to answer the questions and concern of our compatriot guide the population on how to proceed in front of anyone at risk during the week of as decreed by the head of state. We ask the population to comply with the regularly recalled barriers measures to limit movement to the barrier essentials in order to reduce contact, to protect oneself and others, to protect especially the elderly and vulnerable by limiting the contact persons who provide assistance to them, to designate a person who will be in charge of the supply of products all kinds for the family while limiting the number of outing to a minimum. Keep informed through the Ministry of Health, which will communicate daily and transparently on the evolutions of the situation in the country. The Ministry of Health is fully committed to the response to COVID-19 and calls on the population to exercise the utmost vigilance and to rigorously monitor the measures taken to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The first day of containment exceptional situation is exceptional measures following the containment decisions announced yesterday by the President of the Republic. Many trade are complying with the containment guidelines. Looking at some of the arteries of capital, especially the commercial sector, one might think that Djibouti is like a day. In the month of Ramadan, coffee restaurant and refreshment stand were closed this morning. Our teams that crisscrossed the capital this morning encountered a deserted city as you can see in these images. Containment measures in this phase of advanced prevention are contained in government directives to limit the movement of people and hence the vital circulation that people carry out. On another level, public transport has also been regulated with a maximum number of passengers for each category of bus, like 14 passengers for large buses and 6 for minibuses and 2 passengers for the tricycles. The aim of these measures is to respect safety distances between people using public transport. National police and road safety officers have been mobilized on the capital's arteries in order to carry out checks to ensure compliance with the new safety regulation. However, bus owners are taking advantage of the opportunity to increase the prices of transport to around 100 per person level. The initial price only the respect of containment can reverse this trend as the number of passengers will decrease. Failure to comply with containment. While the majority of traders comply with the containment instructions, some Djiboutians continue to go out for their daily activities, to go about their businesses out of recklessness and without real need. As a result, some unauthorized groupings are formed at bus stops and terminals. These groupings, which are contrary to safety and distance standards, constitute a high risk of contamination and spread of the coronavirus and run counter to government safety regulations. These irresponsible attitudes must be repressed in order to counteract the great risk it poses to the populations. Unfortunately, these failures to respect the containment is a matter for certain malicious bus drivers who take advantage of this situation to transport as many people as possible. Some other equally malicious buses have simply stopped working. These are uncivil acts at this exceptional time, which requires contributions and solidarity from each and every one of us. It is fortunate for the police forces are monitoring compliance with passenger safety standards and on buses. The head of state addressed the nation for the second time yesterday, announcing as general lockdowns for a week. What should we take away from these messages to the nation? Here is the answer with Hidayah Mohammed Abdullah.
COVID-19 is indeed present today in Djibouti, and 2 cases have been confirmed and were taken care of immediately. The president did not fail to announce it. Until now, the government actions and the measures announced by the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Mergele, have been gradually always in this phase of prevention and adapted to a period of observation of where the coronavirus had not been officially detected. Now, as I was saying, the coronavirus is indeed present, and so the head of state, speaking for the second time in a message to the nation, he announced a week of general lockdown with the exception of a few essential services, and in this withdraw the viral circulation carried by the population. These measures testify to the real threat facing the country. Unfortunately, previous restrictive measures have already been in place, closing schools and higher education institutions, leisure facilities, mosques and other gatherings places for about 10 days. Today, we are in a phase of more active prevention. With the announcement of this lockdown, which must be respected for the salvation of all, I know that the president has made it very clear that it is his responsibility to ensure strict compliance with these measures, which means do not force me to take more radical measures. And he has repeatedly said, stay in your homes and only go out when it is extremely necessary. Tariq, the message is very clear. The head of state has once again made the population aware of the risks. But in case in some of out of the recognize and irresponsibility go against this lockdown, as we saw today in the city, more restrictive measures could be taken overnight. There is therefore still time, and in the interest of all, to abandon certain daily habits that do not conform to the instructions of the head of state and the health authorities, such as moments of conviviality in any kind of meeting, gatherings in cafes, for example. And finally, it should be noted that there had been active medical action in China by the Chinese health authorities to contain this pandemic, and also and above all the self-discipline of the Chinese people. It is therefore necessary and in high time to show vigilance and responsibility. The situation demands it. In conclusion, in views today's reports, I will not be surprised if tomorrow more and strict measures were to be taken by the government.
Following the closure of schools in the context of the launch of distance learning design commissions from the General Inspectorate, CRIPEN and CFF are requisitioned to carry out this work. The meeting organized at the CFF on Monday 23 brought together teachers of basic education, middle and secondary education, and those of technical and vocational education at CFF technical teams, as well as communication department of CRIPEN are in charge of recording and broadcasting digital audiovisual contents. In collaboration with RTD in the afternoons, the ministers attend a presentation session on cloud computing that will allow to work and collaborate through in this conferences, and many collaborative tools such as e-learning and many others. It should be noted that our country has a free unlimited virtual data storage license. Let us thus place Djibouti in 4th place in Africa in terms of use for the benefit of education. For the international scene, the World Health Organization and United Nations sound the alarms about the coronavirus. The pandemic is accelerating. This is the observation is made by the World Health Organization. It took only 4 days to reach 300,000 cases when it had taken 11 days to go from 100,000 to 200,000 cases. The WHO is calling on countries to test as many cases as possible while quarantining their close contacts. More than 15,000 people have died from the new coronavirus since its emergence in late 2019 in Wuhan province. United Nations yesterday called for an immediate global ceasefire in these times of health crisis. A first case has been reported in Syria, with other reported in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Afghanistan. Experts and diplomats expect the virus to cause carnage in countries in conflicts, which are often very poor and have even more weak health systems than elsewhere. And in Africa, coronavirus containment in South Africa, curfew in Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire. South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa has imposed strict 3-week containment in his countries, the most affected by the coronavirus epidemic in sub-Saharan Africa, while Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire have declared state of emergency with curfews. This measure is aimed at preventing human disasters of enormous proportions. He explained that a total of 402 cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed so far in South Africa, a number multiplied by 6 in just 8 days. The head of state insisted in West Africa. Two head of state, Senegalese Macky Sall and Ivorian Alassane Ouattara, announced similar measures on Monday's evening to the introduction of a state of emergency and right curfew. In Cote d'Ivoire, 25 cases no deaths, according to the latest report published on Sunday. A progressive containment is being out in place by geographical areas. Travel between Abidjan, the economic capital where the majority of cases are concentrated, and the interior of the country will be subject to authorizations already effective in Tunisia, Rwanda, and Mauritius. Containment was also imposed on Mondays in Lumumbashi, southeast, the economic capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, in the two main cities of Madagascar, the capital Antananarivo and Tomasina, East Nigeria, Africa's most populous country with 200 million inhabitants, which has officially registered only 36 cases of coronavirus, including one death on Mondays, asked residents of its capital, Abuja, and its most populous city, Lagos, to stay home. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.